can close your eyes and put your hand on the center of your chest and you're calling the light. Father, Mother God, we ask for the clearing. We ask for God's love and God's light. We ask for the light of the Christ, the Holy Spirit. We ask for blessings for each of us. We ask for alignment with our soul's purpose and God's will, and loving in our hearts, and for our purpose, and for our mission, and for healing for everyone involved. So be it. So we're going to go right into like a meditation to start, so you can just stay in that same place. And the first thing is you want to be feeling your feet on the ground and your butt in the chair, and just feel your body a little bit. So part of this is kind of channeling this energy, and there's part of the energy is very kind of spacey and spiritual. So we want to learn to be present in our body, to hold that energy and be able to kind of be on the planet Earth and connected into the spirit at the same time. And then start to breathe into the center of your chest, into your spiritual heart center. And just imagine the energy in your heart center, the loving spiritual energy. And you can just feel that, or you can imagine it. Some people can see a ball of energy. Some people just know it's there. Any of those are fine. Some people like to see like a heart, like we draw for Valentine's Day. All of that's fine. And just start to imagine that energy and that center expanding. With each breath, you can feel it and know it and see it getting bigger. And just allow that to fill up your whole chest. And then start to expand beyond the limits of your physical body, going up through your neck, down through your pelvis and your hips. And then even further to fill all the way around through your body, outside of your body, to fill up your energy field. Now, this meditation can be used for channeling or bringing in this energy. It can be used for some more specific masters and pretty much anything you want. The way that I work is what I call under the highest good. And so we want this to be for good. That part's really very important. And so we're going to be, for the purpose of this workshop, we're going to be inviting in the Christed light. So this, usually people see this as a white light, but sometimes it can be purple. It can be any color, and that's really fine. So just, you want to be open in your heart and open in your energy field and invite this energy to come in. This energy already exists inside of you, so it's kind of the energy we expanded is the Christ light inside of you, and we're inviting it from the outside of you. So in the spirit, there is the Christed energy. There is Jesus Christ, who's a master in the spirit, and this is a very loving, very forgiving energy. So similar as expanding the heart, you can sometimes just know this. You could feel it, sometimes you see it. Any of those are fine. You can use your imagination to mock it up so you could feel it better. Sometimes I use the beaming in Star Trek when the energy comes in, like that image for me just is like, wow. Okay? And I'm a science fiction fan, so in the recent Baby Yoda, like Baby Yoda really opens my heart up. And sometimes little babies or kittens or animals or things like that can really bring in that loving energy. So God and Christ loves you more than you know. loves everybody. So you can let that loving energy in your heart. A lot of times I can think about my daughter, and that loving energy really comes in. There you go. So then we want to start to become a vessel for this energy. So there is the part of healing and being there for yourself first, and then you can start to use this for other people. And it can be in your words, it could be in your touch, it could just be in the energy. Okay, a lot of times when I'm working, and I just do it now, I just automatically hold my hands up and that energy comes through and I feel it in the palms of my hands and it goes to the person. But it's all around me first. Okay, so that part is real important. So focus into the center of your chest for a moment and just see what is in your heart that you would like healed for you. What parts of your life would you like more loving in? It could be physical, it could be financial, it could be emotional, it could be relationships. So take a breath in and out through your mouth. And let a little sound out on the exhale. And then start to feel your body a little bit more. And now you can think of any person or situation you'd like to send some of this energy to. Now start to feel yourself sitting in the chair and your feet on the ground. Just use your imagination and intention to scan through your body and see if there's any specific places you'd like to invite the Christ energy into. One more time, take a big breath and let some sound out on the exhale, like a real ah. And then start to feel your feet on the ground. And then when you're ready, you can open your eyes. So yeah, take a breath in through your mouth and out, and let like real sound out like I do. In the beginning, people are going ah, but this is ah, ah. There you go. That's great. So, in doing the spiritual work, we're using our imagination and our intention to do things in the spirit. And it's one thing that's really important is to be very open to knowing that it's outside of what you know a lot of the times. So the first thing we're going to do kind of as a workshop thing is come up with a list of your personal list of spiritual assistants. Okay, so there are thousands of beings, light beings, masters, saints in the spirit, and any of them can help us. Okay, so there are the Christ energy is something, Jesus Christ is, there's, the saints from all the religions and everything like that. So there's the Lords of Karma is something that is nice. There are all the angels and things like that. So, but we're trying to use our mind to connect into something that our mind does not understand. So we use these steps. There's a big part of it of taking the steps and then letting go. Taking the steps and letting go. The letting go part is just really, really, really important because it can be outside of something that we know. Within each of these religions, there are these healing masters and saints that can work for us, okay? Usually we have an affinity towards things. Like I have an affinity towards ancient Egypt, and there are masters that come in from ancient Egypt and stuff like that. So anyone have any particular masters or things in the spirit they like particularly? Okay. So so people come to me a lot and they ask me about their past relatives that have passed away. And sometimes they're kind of caught in limbo, basically, you could describe it. And then really it's a matter of introducing them to a saint or a master that can help them. When I don't know intuitively what it is, Jesus is kind of the go-to guy because he covers the most people on the planet. But for some people, that's not who it is. Okay? And there's, so some years ago I was teaching this workshop and I was talking to people about this, and there was this woman there. She was definitely, a white American woman, and so I was talking and she goes, no, I don't relate to that at all. And I said, what? She goes, Buddha. I go, oh wow. So Buddha is very similar, the energy is very similar to the Christ energy. But then I said to her, there is the part of the spirit. So in Buddhism there's a lot of quieting the mind, and they don't talk about the next step of letting the spirit come in. And as soon as I said this to her, she got it, and this energy from Buddha came in, and her eyes lit up, and it was just really beautiful. Okay. So so there are angels, there's archangels, there's the Lords of Karma, there's something called the Great White Brotherhood. There are thousands of things, but really trust your intuition about it, and always know to take it one step further. Okay. So our mind wants to come in and humanize. Like people ask me about guides a lot, and I say, well, I suggest not always using those words because we tend to humanize it and make smaller than what it can be. So there's something about this that's beyond what we know, and that part of beyond is just real important to know. Okay. The other day I was working with someone, and they had some physical health problems, and it was this purple light came in. And then it's like the person wasn't letting that in for some reason. And I was like, well, what's going on? Because usually purple is a really good healing color. But then all of a sudden, something kind of changed, and it's like this green light came in and they really let it in. It was just, I could have gotten all bent out of shape because my mind knew the purple would be good, but then it was like, be open. So I'm talking about the colors, but it's the same thing with using the different saints and stuff like that, okay? A big thing is don't discard the religion you were born into, because a lot of people, because of your upbringing, are like, I don't want to hear about that. There's, just to give you an idea, there's different beings that come in to help me when I'm working with people, and sometimes I don't know their names. There's this one, and I call it in a joking way, the big head out of that TV show, the third rock or the fifth rock from the sun or whatever it was, because they had the big head in there, and it's just this giant head. And I did hear someone once talk about the silent ones, and I think this is part of the silent ones, because this being comes present but doesn't, I never hear anything about it, okay? So, but you could, there are endless things. So there's, in ancient Egypt, the person who's considered like the first doctor is called Imhotep, and that's a being. Saint Germain is something. You're here in England, St. Paul is a big thing in spirit. You know, these things that just give us this little kind of tickle and smile inside are things that are real in the spirit. So I'm going to encourage you to go with it a little more, because your mind will come in and go, no, that's not real, but it probably is, okay? So try to write some things down. And you know, most people, like I said, can start with Jesus, because he covers the most people in the world. Not everybody, but, and a cool thing, I've studied the Islamic religion a lot, particularly Jalaluddin Rumi, that most people know about. But, so Mary and Jesus, I don't know about everyone how they practice, but that's part of the Islamic religion also. Okay, so these saints and beings are just real things in the spirit, so I encourage you to go for that, okay? And then you can practice outside of here, like just, you know, you get a feeling about something, you call that energy in, you open your heart up, and you invite that in for yourself. So take a little time and write some things down, and be real courageous. But I learned over the years, it is that you know what's going on, you know in the spirit, and it takes a certain courage to take that next step and like really admit that to yourself, okay? So I'll give you a few minutes, I'll be quiet and let you work on that.
Absolutely no idea what to do.
Okay. So what are your spiritual beliefs?
I'm spiritual, I'm not religious,
Okay.
Really, but I come from a Christian background.
Okay. So do you believe there's energy outside you that helps you?
Yeah, universal energy.
Okay. So is there anything specific about it that... Well, I would start with writing universal energy down, and again, be kind of arrogant with it and go for it. So it's funny, because there's certain things that connect us into that loving energy. Like I mentioned Baby Yoda, but there are kittens and puppies, you know, babies. Those are things that seem to really get things going. So are there any... See, for me, I talk about religion, but within that is the spiritual part. So I just talk about the religion, but even in the Catholic religion, in the Jewish religion, to me, there's the part that's spiritual. So are there things... Is there some culture that you connect to, or some path that might be something like this? You know, and again, it does take a certain, because it's the kind of thing we would perhaps think about when we're a little kid, and we're told, no, that's just your imagination. So these are the kind of things that it's like. Okay? And it could just be universal energy, but there's perhaps a more dynamic way for you to express that for yourself. Okay. So what might some of that be?
Okay.
For some people, there's a lot of things in nature that really click for them.
That's one thing.
Okay. So along with the plants and trees and everything, there are spiritual beings that come along with them. So there are things of the earth, there's different ancient traditions, there's just spiritual beings from all these things. So like I said, for me, ancient Egypt means a lot. For a while, there was a lot of Hawaiian things, and I'm saying things just to keep it kind of vague, to allow everyone's, for it to unfold for them. Because we would like to really pin it down, but this is keep it way open. So yeah, I did this workshop years ago, and we would go out and, just feel the energy of the trees and things like that. So with the trees, there are things that are kind of like angels. They're actually called divas most of the time, that are
Called
with
what?
divas. Not the divas of people who were spoiled, but little angel kind of characters. So. But really trust yourself. We're taught, we're brought up in traditions that we're told not to do this. Actually, I have a client who used to be a Catholic priest. I talked to, and he knows, but he says, yeah, we were told that is sinful. So, and in a lot of religions, we're taught, we're not as good as God, basically, and that we need the ministers, the priests, the rabbis and stuff, because we're just mortal beings that don't, but we are part of God, and so give yourself permission to go a little bit further than you feel comfortable with, okay? So I see someone just turned to the second page, so they have a long list.
I don't know what to read, just write it.
Okay.
Okay.
So, and does anyone want to share about anything that's going on for them in this process?
I wrote down water as a river,
Okay.
because I do a lot of work on water.
Yeah.
So for me, going down, when I think about the water,
Yeah.
it's a soft place.
It has the movement with it, and there is a spiritual aspect to that. So there's certain beings in spirit that are almost inherently really good and doing good things for us. The things that are in, like with the water and even with the plants and stuff, we can ask. Like they're almost there to serve us. So when we ask for that energy to help us, it can be really very helpful. So I do house clearings, and I work for realtors sometimes, and I went to do this house, and it was interesting because I said, there's all this stuff about water going on underneath here, and we just needed to direct that. And then the woman said, yeah, they're having problems with their plumbing. And it was cool, because once again, we call in the light. So under this highest light, we have a certain authority. And we do need to be very tricky, because we cannot beat the negative things. And if you think that they'll whip your butt through a certain kind of humble arrogance, I guess it would be, but you step forward knowing you have this authority and you ask for it. So I did what I did, and it was amazing. The house sold, the plumbing stuff got fixed up. It was really, really cool. So that's a good thing. Okay, so the next part, and you can continue writing if stuff's coming up, that's really great, is kind of choosing which thing is the right thing. And I talk in vague words because I don't want to solidify it too much for you, because you have your own way of doing this, okay? And that part's real important. The only part that's important to stick with is that it's purely good and for healing, and good for you, good for the people around you. That part's really important. So when I first learned how to do this, I learned how to use a pendulum. Okay, then I learned how to do applied kinesiology. They're both kind of similar, but the way that I do it now is just I use those things to increase my intuition. Okay, so you can just kind of go down the list. The good thing is, if you make a mistake, there's really no downside to it. Like if there's one of the positive things on your list, if it's not the exact right thing, there's not a problem with it. But there will be times when you can feel something really open up in really an amazing way. Okay? Like I said with that woman with the purple and the green, I didn't know where to go next, but I just stayed with it, knowing that, keeping this intention of the highest good and for their health and well-being. Then this green color came in, and so I went whoosh, and it was kind of cool. It's kind of great to watch that. Okay. there is the part of your knowing you can do this, and that part's kind of important. But it is, you take a step, so I had this thing happen to me a few years ago that was really a shift in my appreciating what I do. And it was around Thanksgiving time in the United States. I had, not that long before that, started posting things online. And so I was always looking for things to post. And, I try to look for things, what am I thankful for, especially around that time. And I came across this email from a client from a few years before, and she had had a miscarriage. And she was emotionally very distraught about it, but she was also physically in very bad shape. Her friend forced her to come see me because she didn't believe in what I do. And the doctors were basically saying to her, forget about ever having a kid. At this point, we're looking to save you, because her health was deteriorating very quickly. And she came to me after 2 sessions. She wrote me this email saying, I don't know what you do, but thank you. The doctors say I'm getting better. And then I heard, like a year later, she was pregnant and ended up having a son. And when I read this, I was able to look at this. And I had been doing this for quite a long time already, but something in me was almost embarrassed about it and like kind of ashamed to own what I do. And then it's like, wow, this is really cool. And I just was able to kind of look at it almost from the outside and really appreciate it. Then the next thing for me was, well, this is what everyone should be doing. Like appreciating your God-given gifts, your qualities, and whether it's healing or painting, or you're talking about you like to be on the river. These are really amazing gifts that we have, and to appreciate that. And we are taught, be humble, don't be arrogant. And even though that guy said to me, be arrogant, I didn't take it in that way. It just is like, stand in your strength and know what you can do. So everyone has the ability to hold this energy to one degree or another, and some people are better at it, just like anything. I think about professional athletes. A lot of people can play soccer or football, as you call it here, right? But there's the people that are really amazing at it. They can do it better. But still, I used to teach in this tennis clinic, and there were really good tennis players. One of my friends used to be a professional tennis player, so he could attract really good tennis players from high school and college. There was this one kid. Through high school, he was considered the best high school tennis player in the world, but he didn't think of himself as that good because he wasn't as good as, Andre Agassi or, people like that. And I said, you're a good tennis player? He goes, yeah, I'm okay. And I said, you're good compared to me? And he said, yeah, but you're just a normal person, But he wasn't getting how great he was. And he was amazing, because I saw some good tennis players. You watch this kid play, and he was, I guess from a typical Irish family, the red hair and everything that you think of like that. But it was just a good example of this kid who, any of the normal people who saw him thought, wow, he's amazing. But he didn't think of it that way. So, but this is like, embrace these gifts that God gives to us, whatever it is. If you have children, there's a gift, and being a good parent is a gift. Cooking, anything that you do can be a gift, and this is just another part of that gift. It's just real important to do that. So there's some people who wrote down a lot of things. And so did you end up getting some stuff written down there? Oh, okay. Yep.
Yeah, but I think it's just more for me than
Okay.
for everybody else.
Okay. Well, again, I'm suggesting to be courageous and brave and step outside of that a little bit, okay? And know that your gift is a gift and not like high. And I know it's not easy. I've been doing this a long time, and still it's sometimes, well, no, I need to step up. If you're going to do God's work, you step up. You put yourself on the line there, and that's what it is. So we're going to ask you to do some of that in a moment. So did you get to write some stuff down at all?
I've got to write some stuff down, but we'll see.
Okay. So, and it could be, to begin, it could be, so a lot of times I use colors, and you could try it out with that, and you can kind of go through colors and see what works. So each color has a certain frequency and vibration to it. Similar to the plants, there are beings similar to angels called the Master Kohans that work with the colors. So you bring that in and the spirit comes in. The energy in the very high spirit, we almost don't feel or see at all. Okay? So then there's a part that's kind of in the in-between here and there that could be the colors or even the tingling we could feel, but the spirit uses those things. Okay? So we kind of have to take these steps of, like I said, our imagination, our thoughts and things like that that are not directly of the spirit, but we kind of use them, and it's like, okay, God, here I am. I'm going to take those steps and do what I can and be open to that happening. And then that purely, but it really, I want to say anything, but it's anything that's good. These are not things, some people get into this dark stuff. That's not what this is at all. Okay. You can turn to a different page in your book there. And then on there you can write some things down that you'd like to have be better in your life. And it could be really anything. It could be mental, emotional, physical, spiritual. And this part I'm not going to ask you to share as much as I'm asking you about the pot, unless you want to. So after this, I'm going to have you pair up and try to work on these things, but you don't even need to tell your partner what the negative things are unless you want to. So in the way of keeping it simple, there are a handful of things that are kind of practical things that tend to open people up to this energy. And I mentioned babies, so animals is one of them, nature, music. The other one is just putting your hand on your heart and breathing. But those things, and as I said, for me, Baby Yoda is one of those things. I just have such a fondness about it. It's kind of funny, but it's, you just start to notice those things that trigger this positive energy in you, and you can start to use those. Okay? And you can put, these can be as physical thing as possible. It could be making more money. Be courageous. It's not make a lot of money and screw over everyone in the world. It's, make a lot of money and do good things and be abundant and stuff like that. So every expression can be a good thing. And when we're expressing the God in us or the Spirit through us, it can be a good thing. There are people who do everything in a positive way. They're, talking about professional athletes. Some people have this physical skill that is amazing, and they are not the best people in the world. And then there are people, I was so disappointed when I heard about how Michael Jordan motivates people by being mean to them, because he's such an amazing basketball player, and from my perspective, I assumed he was this loving, and I know he meditates and everything, but when I heard he likes to motivate people by basically telling them how bad they are, it hurt me in my heart. Okay, so we're kind of set up in pairs already. If you want, you can face each other. So we're going to learn to do a little applied kinesiology. Does everyone know what that is? Yeah. So I know Jamie knows what that is. We talked about it before. So the cool thing about this is it helps train our intuition. Okay, because it's kind of bypassing our mind to get to something in us that knows beyond our mental chatter and stuff like that. Okay. Do you have a question?
No,
Okay.
sorry. No,
So you can do this for yourself. A lot of people do it like this. I do it like this because I really learned to do it on someone else, and it's pressing their arm down, but you can learn to do that yourself. Basically, you can choose who's going to be the tester and be the testee. So who's ever being tested, you want to hold up your dominant arm to start. And yeah, you guys can face each other. And then usually the person is once you learn how to do this, you'll see it's really simple because it's not as complicated as it seems. But then you use your non-dominant arm for the person doing the testing, so it's a little weaker. And you basically say, show me strong, and the person will hold their arm up, show me weak, and they'll let you push your arm down. Okay. Now, we're going to be using, for this, we're going to be, when your arm, you're going to test things, when it goes weak, it's going to be a yes. Now, some people do it the opposite, but for this going down the list, you'll see it helps to do it that way. Okay, so the first step is tell the person, show me strong, push down a little tiny bit, and then show me weak, and let it go down. Okay, what you find when you learn this, it's not even really strong and weak. You'll feel it just kind of clicks in. And it's, you know, like there are certain people I test, I can always push their arm down, you know. But that's not what it is. You'll just feel it goes and it kind of clicks. It's almost like it clicks in, you know. The next thing is your list of things that you would like to improve about yourself. We're going to check. Now, you don't need to tell the other person. You can just go down the list in your mind. You could say 1, put like a number next to it. If you want to tell the other person, that's fine too, but you don't have to do this, okay? And they'll test you for your things. And they don't need to know because you're the one being tested. This is you, okay? So basically you want to choose which thing on your list to work on first, okay? So just go down the list, don't think about it. We're just go number 1, number 2. For this, the ones that go weak are the ones that are going to be on the list, and it could be more than one thing. Okay, matter. It's either strong or weak. So show me strong. Okay, so right. So she's show me strong. So sometimes you have to be very gentle. Show me weak. Okay. So see, it's sometimes it is very subtle, but there's a little click in there, and it could be a little wobbly, but it kind of clicks. That's the clicking is more important. I mean, probably always people are just not strong at holding their arm up, so you could probably always push your arm down. Okay. So the next thing to do is so now you have your things to work on. Now we want to add in the spiritual assistance to that. And the idea is to get it to that thing that was weak to be strong. Okay. So, but you can use the muscle testing. I mean, you can just kind of go through the list and see what happens, but for this, I wanted to teach the muscle testing. So now you'll go down the list of spiritual things that you came up with and see which one, and this one will go weak also, because that's giving you a yes answer. Okay?
Sorry, I didn't quite understand that, so...
Okay. So you have your thing you want to work on?
Yes, I have. But if I'm working on Susan, do I go down my list or her list?
That's a good question. You probably would start with her list, but you could try your list too, because, again, there's no... You don't monopolize who's helping you and stuff like that. But generally, you would go down the person's list. When I work with people, I have a list, but it's really good to always realize there's thousands of things in the spirit that can help you. A cool thing can happen is you'll be doing this, all of a sudden a new bit of information will come to you about what, in a way I was saying about the purple and green, even though green's not a new thing, it was like different than I thought altogether, but by being open to it. Okay, and then you would share with the other person, and they might say no or yes, but it's just it's kind of go with the flow. Some, but always in the direction of health and wealth and happiness, kind of thing. Okay. It's always good to call in the light, like I did in the beginning, but you can just muscle test. It is you can
because we're in the energy and we've set out our intentions.
Yes.
It should just.
Yes, and it's good to do that each time. If you feel like you want to do that now, then go for it. Yeah. So there is an important part of this. Again, even though we're coming up with a specific method, there's stuff beyond the method that happens. Okay, so I'm seeing here like they decide to close their eyes a bit and let the energy expand. So when we come up with things to work on that we want better, understand a lot of times that's just the tip of the iceberg, and really what we're healing is so much more than that. So don't worry about understanding it so much, because there are things from other lifetimes, there's patterns from our childhood, and the next part we'll get into a little bit. So once you figure out which positive things to call in, then you want to go back and test the original thing and see if the person still goes with it. Okay? So one nice thing I'm seeing here is everyone's doing the testing with like 2 fingers instead of like really trying to push them down. So you must have had some experience, just that you're being gentle with it. It's nice.
Try
So how's everyone doing? Everyone feel, so we're looking to feel some movement. And there are many layers in here, and it, like I said, a lot of times it's the tip of the iceberg. So we might get through the first thing and then there'll be things below it. But doing this on an ongoing basis, and then, you know, at some point you don't really need to do the muscle testing. You just have your list of positive energies, and when things are off, you just call them in and you'll start to feel it. It's, okay. So, and I do use colors a lot. So you just go through the rainbow, but put purple and pink, gold and silver on top of the colors on the rainbow, and you can test and see which color. So it brings in a certain vibration. We were talking about the positive things in spirit. I'm going to talk a little bit about the negative things. So we can use this process to clear these negative things that come into spirit. In a certain way, who we are is all this good stuff. Whenever there's negative things there is stuff to clear, but then the negativity comes in also. And we want to try to use the positive things to get rid of that. So part of it is to understand that it's not who you are. So we can pick things up from other people, but the negative powers come in and try to make us, their job really is to strengthen us by challenging us, but they get a little carried away with their job. Okay, so there is, you know, I know, you know, there's certain people in my life, I'm around them, I know afterwards I just feel a little off. And if I was totally clear in that area, I couldn't take that stuff on, so there is my part of it. But understanding that it's not me is a really important part of the clearing. And even if you can get a little separation and then call in the positive spiritual energies, it can really work amazingly well. Okay, so, but there are demons and entities and the dark angels in the spirit that are, we can use these things to clear that stuff also. Okay. I know when, you know, a lot of times when I work with people, I don't talk about this stuff because it starts to freak them out, and they start thinking about things they've seen in movies, and you know, but usually it's not like that. But but that part of a bit of separation. So when I, you know, a lot of times in spiritual worlds, people say everything is 100% you, and that just doesn't seem to really help people, even though in a certain way it's kind of true. Some years ago, I met this person who was a relationship therapist, and she said basically the 80-20 rule, and I thought, wow, that's a great way to think about it. So you might have heard of the 80-20 rule. I forget what it's called, but at first someone came up with it as a thing in business where they basically said 80% of the you know, generated revenue in any company is created by 20% of the employees. But people took this to apply to all other things, and in relationships it basically means if you have an issue with your partner, that look at it like it's 80% you and 20% them. And I thought, wow, this is great, because thinking it's 100% you is easy to go to beating up on yourself, and that's not what this is about. But it is like the same in here. You want to look at your part of it and clean that up, but understand there's some of it that's not you. You know, I guess purely spiritual, yes, everything is 100% us, but we're not purely spiritual. That's all there is to it. We would like to be, but I don't, you know, even the most spiritual people I've met, they have their body. They have to deal with health issues. They have to go to the bathroom. You know, they have to do these things that are not spiritual. So just try to keep that in mind when there's negative things going on. It's like, here's my part, and I want to clean and clear that up. And there is part that's not you. So this part, asking for these spiritual assistants can get rid of that part that's not you. and help you process the parts that are you. Super important when you can get a little distance between I'm in a bad mood, life's terrible, a little distance between you and that, then it's like, oh, there's the thing I can clear. So I do journal writing every morning, and one of the things I have is worry, and sometimes ridiculous worry. And when I think about it, it is really ridiculous. This is my beautiful daughter here. She is a great kid. And it used to be, I mean, she does really well in school, and it used to be if she got below a 90% on anything, I would worry about it, right? How silly. But that process helped me get a little distance, and I started calling the worry blah, because sometimes I'm thinking about things that really there is no need to worry. Like it could have been how to arrange the chairs here. Like part of me my self-talk would be worrisome. It's like, how ridiculous, you know. So, and then there are times it's more, so I call it the worry blah and the worry blob. But so I journal write about this again. It's a way to get a little distance between me and that thing, and then, oh, I can clear that worry blah. I can, the blob kind of looks dark in my imagination, and then I can call the light into that and ask for these spiritual things to come in. Okay. Journal writing and meditation are probably the best tools to do. A lot of people have trouble starting to do that, which I understand. I actually started journal writing very regularly when my daughter, at the end of 4th grade, her teacher said she should learn how to type like the right way, which she still hasn't learned to do, but she can type very fast. But over the summer, I got a program for me to learn how to type, because I had been typing like this for more years than I'd like to say. But so I started learning to type, and at the end of learning to type, I said, wow, I like this. So I started every morning doing journal writing to take up that time, and it's really very helpful. With meditation, a lot of people say, oh, I can't meditate, my mind's all yucky and stuff. Still meditate, even if your mind's chatting the whole time. And I've been meditating pretty much every day for close to 40 years, and some days it is blah, 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 what time it is. I pick up my phone 20 times, and everything else, but still taking the time to do that. Those two things are the most important. Okay. Take a little time to do some journal writing. That would be, so you can go to your next page. Now, this can be your journal that you can start. So what I do is I have some things, and I encourage people to have things that you check, okay? And it's kind of check in your mind. So since I'm young, I never slept very much, and I've learned to do better, but that's something I write about first thing. Did I sleep well? Sometimes I'll wake up in the middle of the night and not be smart and get up and start to do something, and then I have trouble going back to sleep. So I will write about that to remind myself to go back to sleep instead of waking up. The other thing I have is I had a hip replacement years ago, and even though it was like 7 years ago, I still tend to favor this hip is stronger than this hip physically, but I still tend to favor it. So I'll write about how my posture's doing, and I'll do some breathing and focus on that. And then the other thing is worrying. So I have 3 things I check, like have a checklist of what to journal write about. And then I'll just sit there and let my mind go and trust my intuition about what else to journal write about. It could be about a dream. It could be about something I have to do that day. But journal writing is a great, great spiritual tool. I mean, it is probably, I have a client who's been a client for a long time, and I don't know how long ago, but finally she started journal writing, and she goes, wow, this is really good. And I go, yeah, I've been telling you to do it for years. She goes, yeah, I just never thought it was really good. But it's a great, great tool to do. So take a few minutes and just write, and you can journal write about how you're doing now, anything you've learned so far that we talked about, and stuff like that. Okay. So one way I talk about it is like gets my head on straight in the morning, like my intention for the day. A lot of times I'll ask questions of myself, like how can I be in my loving today? How can I be abundant today? How can I be healthy? So, and propose those questions for yourself. There's something in us that almost automatically is looking for what's wrong. Like we are designed that way to avoid those things and be safe. So it does take a conscious effort to be setting our intention to be positive. And I do journal writing on my computer. So I like to type, but a lot of people like to do it better by pen, but either way is fine. I'm going to share some of my cool experiences I've had in my work, and there's this family I'm working with, mostly the mother and the daughter, but it was interesting because they had a lot of basically witchcraft affecting them. And so, I belong to these groups on Facebook, and people say, is there like karma, like family karma, and or family curses or something? And it's more like people or souls come together to work through the same thing. And these people had a lot of people dealing with this negative witchcraft energy for many lifetimes, and it's kind of cool. So it was almost like there was this underlying darkness and everything, and that both the man and woman are very successful, and on the outside they live a very abundant life and everything, but they have basically both their kids are very sick, and I don't know, it's just really cool to see. So it took a while, but all of a sudden all that witchcraft, it was like this dark energy down here all the time and everything. And this woman had the sense and awareness to have me work on her parents and everyone in their family a little bit, which was really cool. I'm trying to think of, so the daughter, who's 14 years old, has a number of diseases, and you'd hear these diseases. One thing's called POTS. I mean, all these diseases I never even heard of, but now she's starting to do better. And it's tricky because, the doctors are almost causing a panic in them, like they have to do this, and they really had no idea what they were doing. And I kept saying, I don't know about any of that stuff, but I know your daughter's going to get better. And it's kind of cool because now, so she has a physical therapist come to her, and the mother said to me, oh, the physical therapist said she's doing so much better. And with that illness, if she can exercise, that's a really big thing. So basically what happened this last week is a physical therapist said, oh, we're going to start working on the bicycle, and it was just, it's just really cool to see these things go on in the spirit, and there are these kind of scary negative things there, and as they get cleared away, people get better. Physically, just everything. In one way, it's kind of easy when someone has really big problems because they know something's negative there. It's kind of like the more subtle things, it's like, then it takes a little more determination. Let's see. So, years ago I had this client who, the client was actually the son who was in his early 20s at the time. And that one time the father came to see me. This was to see me in person. And I knew the kid and I knew the father, and both, very nice people and stuff, and the father was paying for it, so he wanted to come see what this crazy stuff was all about that I did. And so he came in, and I called in the light, and all of a sudden the room filled up with this green energy. And he saw it, the father saw it. He goes, what happened? Everything just turned green. And I tried to explain to him what happened, and he said, no, he's an engineer, so he was like figuring out like the sun was coming through the leaves and all this stuff. So he spent like 15 or 20 minutes, and then he gave up, and he basically said, I don't know what you do, but I feel so good, and he left, and he was fine with it. But it was kind of cool that he saw that. He didn't know what to make of it, but so those cool things happen. I don't know, does anyone have any questions about anything that maybe we didn't talk about specifically here?
What opened up your life to this, your way of being?
Yeah. I mean, a big thing that happened is I did have a near-death experience, but that was not, that was a very big thing, but something before that happened that I would see things, and even from when I was very young, I would see all these, that I was told, oh, that's just your childhood imagination. I guess a big thing was I saw my passed away grandfather in the movie theater one time, that, and that was like a definite. And sometimes I wonder if I see people that are not alive around me, because he looked as real could be, and then I don't notice it. So, I try to put it in interesting ways for people, but so my near-death experience was a really bad car accident. I had some other car accidents, basically spirit telling me, like, get with the program because you're not doing the right thing. I've happened to be attracted to girls when I was younger and women when I was older that are into that thing. Like, my life has just been pushing me in that direction. Besides my near-death experience, meeting teachers that had profound abilities to help me, I had really cool experiences with people where certain blessings come in and I just learn stuff, and it is, in one way it's like this, but then you have these experiences and you jump up a few levels at a time. So I think the thing you can do consciously is find people that know more than you and, realize, kind of joking around, it's like, they just know more than you, and so you learn how to do that, and you have, you just get this direct transmission when you are like, it's kind of like when you're praying, when you're finally down on your knees saying, "Dear God, help me, I have no idea," then something really cool happens. So after my near-death experience, that happened, and I knew this happened all these years, so that happened in 1976, so it was some years ago. And the part that I didn't realize how cool and profound it was, there was no internet then. I had no idea what to make of what happened. I told a few people. I was sitting in my apartment and someone knocked on the door. There was this beautiful woman there who came in and said, "Oh, my sister told me some cool things about you." And she introduced me to a spiritual teacher without me doing anything. Just, they always say you have to do stuff, but I was just sitting there and this woman showed up and introduced me to my first real teacher. So that was really cool. So what I think keep going, I do think the journal writing and the meditating and just being open to that stuff and looking at the world like it is really cool things, I'll mention my beautiful daughter again. Nothing can be more learning and spiritually humbling and, opening up for that. So, yeah, it's a great thing. But trying to think of. One of the. So that first teacher was a Mevlevi sheikh. So in the Islamic religion, the Mevlevis follow the teachings of Jalaluddin Rumi. So Rumi, the poet that. So people read Rumi poems like these would sound like love poems, but he wrote this book called the Mathnawi. It's actually 6 books together. So that was a big thing. But I don't know. I just became very dedicated to that. And that, as far as my main focus, that's not it anymore. But follow your heart. And the Mathnawi is on Kindle. There's 3 different volumes, so each volume's 2 books, but each one costs like $2 or $3. Mm-hmm. And when I was back in those days, I was like, the Mathnawi was out of print, and I was trying to find it. And I recall Weiser's, this esoteric bookstore in New York City, like every once in a while saying, "Oh, you have the Mathnawi." But one time they said yes, so I said save it. They said, but it cost $212, and this was, years ago. Like now, back then that was a real lot of money. So I went there, and it was this beautiful leather-bound book. I opened it up. I looked through the introduction. When I got to the text of the book, it was in Persian, which I didn't know how to read. But I bought the book anyway. I ended up, I knew someone that interpreted those books for a living, so I gave it to him. But I don't know, I've had so many magical, mystical experiences. You want to look at things like you're a kid, like look at the awe of, even when I was seeing everyone's doing the muscle testing like this instead of like this, I go, wow, that's so beautiful, when you look at things like that. So how did you end up doing with your stuff?
Yeah, not too bad.
Okay.
Got the hang of it eventually.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
So try to, it is kind of the part of working with our thinking because we want to go beyond that. So whatever is that little glimmer of this really mystical, magical thing, trust yourself. A lot of times, So I was born in a Jewish family, and I met this Islamic man, and it was like, it didn't dawn upon me. And then he started talking to me about Jesus and Mary. And this is like, beyond what I was taught as a kid, but something very magical I knew was happening. So I ended up spending a lot of time with him, and I didn't know Mary is in the Quran a lot, even though most Islamic people don't, what we think of, a lot of people think of as Islamic people are violent, terrible people, but that's not what part of the religion is. It's really a wonderful, loving thing. And so within all those religions, you said you were born in Catholic family, is that Christian? Yeah.
Not Catholic.
So more people have died in the name of Christianity than anything in the world. So, there's a lot of negative things people do with it, but beyond that, there is the essence of the loving of
Yes.
that's really, really important. So I think when you're saying the universal energy, that's what you're talking about, that loving essence, and
Absolutely.
it can be in anything. It can be. My dad was an electrical contractor, so that's something I did when I was young, and just to watch some of these electricians, how it was magical what they could fix. They were just tuned into that, and that, like I said, Michael Jordan playing basketball, but, so it's there and everything. That's really great. Okay, so I'll go on to the next part and try to think of some more stories to tell. One of the really nice stories that happened, actually, so when the Mevlevi Sheikh did a wedding for the woman that I married at the time, that was really this beautiful rose ceremony. And it's something that's part of the Mevlevi tradition, that roses are the symbol of loving and the opening of the roses. But so he told me go out and buy 9 closed roses and cut the stems off and bring a bowl of water. So he basically, both me and my wife-to-be were sitting there like this, and he put one of the closed roses in my hand and said, one is for unity. And then I put that rose in her hands, and he had a second one and said 2 is for, I don't remember the numbers, but it was back and forth. At the end, the 9 roses were in my hand, and the bowl of water was below. He said, drop the roses in the water. I did. All the roses opened up, the room filled with the fragrance of roses. And it was just like this magical, loving energy came in. That was so cool. Then he said, taste the water. It turned to rose water. I had a friend pass away a few years ago, and it was funny because I knew her since I was very young, and my brother was really good friends with her brother. And we were never friends, but we ended up doing some spiritual things later together, when we got a little older. And she had been sick for a long time, and it was interesting so she was getting near the end, but in a hospital I think in Brooklyn. And I don't know, I wasn't really called to go see her inside of me, but it worked out. My daughter wanted to go see a Broadway show, and she was going with some other people, so I brought her into the city, and all of a sudden I had a few hours, and the hospital was just a subway ride away, and I went there. And I was really glad I did, because it's like everyone around this woman, it was time for her to pass, but everyone around her didn't want her to go, and it was like interfering with her passing. And she was very weak, but she said, will you work on me some? And I did. And then her mother came in, who I knew since I was very young too, and her mother said, you should leave because only the relatives should be here. And this woman out of nowhere, from weakness, said, stay, and grabbed my shirt. And then it was like, and I knew it was time, so just kind of set up a safe place for her to leave and everything. And then she passed away, and it was just a really beautiful, and it's an honor to, to help people like that. You connect into that thing in the same way with the near-death experience. It's like beyond the physical in a way that is so amazing. That's really great. Well, good for you that you do that. That's such a great ministry. That's really cool. So once again, feel your breath. Feel yourself sitting in the chair and feel your body. You want to be a vessel for this purely good energy to come in. So again, I'll call on the light. Father, Mother God, we ask for the clearing. We ask for God's love and God's light. We ask for the light of the Christ and the Holy Spirit to fill each of us, to protect each of us, to clear each of us. So breathe into the center of your chest, into your heart center, the center of spiritual loving. And allow that energy to expand. Allow your heart to expand. Allow that energy to fill your chest. And you all went to the next 5 steps that to allow it to fill your energy field and to fill your whole body. There's part of this to understanding our comfort zone, that we want to go outside of our comfort zone, because there's always more to do in the spirit, always higher to go. Always more you can do, and greater gifts that you have than you know. So now we'll invite in the Christed light to come into your energy field. Into your heart center. Into your being. Into every cell in your body. Into every thought. Into your inner knowing. And embracing your divinity. And just allow some of your positive qualities to come to your mind. Could be loving, caring, being fun, being a hard worker, and just allow this light to energize those qualities. And knowing those are God's qualities coming through you. Now think of a gift that you would like to have in your life. And imagine that gift coming to you. Imagine how that would manifest in your life, what it would mean to you. And now we'll ask for the purple light to clear our energy fields and to clear the room. And start to focus on your breath again. And feel your feet on the floor. And feel your butt in the chair. And feel the Spirit embrace you and love you. God bless you. And when you're ready, open your eyes. Amen.
Amen.
Anything else anyone wants to say or ask or anything? Then we are done. Thank you very much.
Thank you.